Hey, welcome to the New England Endurance Podcast, where we celebrate the vibrant endurance community of New England. I'm your host, Art Trapotsis, along with Eric Schenker. Eric, it's been raining for the entire month of March, and now it seems like April has hit that too, but that's what makes us hardened endurance athletes in New England, right?
The long runs for Boston Marathon training are basically all happening 100% in the rain. And I will say this, I was just in Huntington Beach, California for a couple days. And it rained, just so we're clear. So it wasn't all perfect, but I'm only going to punctuate what I have been saying, and that is that New England is the greatest endurance region of the country. I can't imagine every day simply just riding up and down the PCH in a bike lane. I mean, there were so many bikers, and I mean, like, so many, many, many bikers. But just the thought of literally just, okay, let's ride 20 miles south, and then we're gonna ride 20 miles north straight on a busy road. It was, I did some runs. It was great. I mean, beautiful, and it was warm on some days, but that would be really boring for me. And I was really just thinking about all the amazing roads and just curves in roads, right? Like I just like, at least the roads curve here a little bit and they go up and down. So I'm sure the
That's
California
very
people are
interesting
gonna
terrain.
get on me for this, but I would say if I had to choose, I would absolutely want to run and ride in New England more than along the PCH every day in Southern California.
100%. And today we're going to celebrate some folks from Vermont. The Ranger, it's Vermont's gravel enduro event this June in Turnbridge, Vermont. And I'm a lover of gravel myself. I'm the resident cyclist on the podcast, even though
Yeah, I
Eric
mean,
and
I
I
don't
used to bike race together.
little unwarranted. I mean, just
But listen, I'm super psyched for this episode. I'm curious to hear about this gravel enduro event, specifically the enduro part of it and what that implies.
yeah, no, we're super excited also to have our first Vermonters on the podcast. So for all of time,
Whoop,
you
whoop.
will now embody all of Vermont. You will be the representatives of Vermont for all of eternity. I think we said that the last time too about Tom from the 603 Endurance. So it's better to be first. We've got Rachel and Tyler Cohen. They are the organizers and partners of the Ranger. Rachel and Tyler are lifelong New Englanders. Thank God, that's the best. And endurance athletes. She is a multi-generational Vermonter, and Tyler grew up in Massachusetts. We'll have to get an understanding of where in Massachusetts he's from. Beyond the Ranger, Rachel is a high school teacher and the executive director of the Vermont Youth Cycling League. Tyler does something less good for humanity. It doesn't really change lives in that way as much as a teacher. He's the sports marketing manager for Jumbo Eyewear. He's protecting our eyes. Maybe he's got a good one for the upcoming. Maybe this actually, unfortunately, this episode will probably come out after the eclipse, but maybe he can talk to a little bit about that for the next 75 years when it comes. So welcome to the New England Endurance Podcast, Rachel and Tyler.
Thanks for having us. We're excited to talk with you.
Let's kick it off here. So I got your name from a friend of mine named Dave Connery, who lives up near the Canadian border. And he's like, you got to have Rachel and Tyler on. And then
Yeah,
Eric,
like my
you had
old
a
marketing
friend.
director who's probably more like Tyler, right? Like he was from Massachusetts and now he lives up in Vermont. And he's like, "Oh, you gotta get these guys on from the Ranger. This is like the coolest event." So anytime we get more than one person saying we need to have a guest on, that's when we officially reach out. So
Wow, that's humbling. Both Dave Connery
Yeah.
and John Howard recommended us. Wow.
Yeah, Dave Connery is a Rangers super fan, by the way.
Super fan. All right. Shout out to Dave. So let's hear a little bit about, at a high level, like describe the Ranger event for us.
Yeah, so the Ranger it's a little bit of everything. It's part camp out, it's part bike ride, it's part community celebration. It is in Tunbridge, Vermont, based out of the World's Fairgrounds there. So it is absolutely the best possible venue where you can have an event, just so much space for families and individuals to camp out and be right there at the venue. And then you just ride up into the most stunning hills around this valley. And it's an enduro in the sense that it's a mass start. Everybody starts at the same time, but the entirety of the course is not timed. So you can ride it completely at your own pace. There are a handful of short time segments on the course. So if you want to really give it the beans that day and go for it and test yourself against other racers, you can go and do that. But it's not the entirety of the course. It's just some short segments where afterward you stop, you regroup, you ride with your friends. If somebody's having a great day and somebody's having less of a good day, there's still a chance for everybody to ride together. And then on the community end, the event grew out of a need in the community for a large fundraiser, and it continues to donate a ton of money to organizations in the towns through which we ride. So we're not just showing up and riding bikes for one day, but really the event is tied into the community. The riders are tied into the community. Rachel's got a great family connection to that area, which is how we are involved. So it's kind of all things mixed into one in a big bike riding weekend.
When did you guys start the event, or did you take over the event?
Yeah, we did not start the event. The event was started by both an individual and an organization called the Alliance for Vermont Communities. And they came together, in the 2015, 2016, to try to fight against a development project that was threatening to buy up a whole bunch of land in this 4-town region. And together with a whole host of community partners, the Alliance for Vermont Communities and a guy named Alex Buskey was able to start this event that really helped gain awareness and education, and ultimately help support the fundraising effort to stop this huge development project. We volunteered at the event in 2019. We just volunteered to chaperone the kids ride, essentially. And we had dinner with the director at the time a week after, and he kind of expressed that it was starting to feel like maybe time for him to move on and do something new. And we kind of expressed interest in making sure that the event lived on, and one thing led to another. And soon the event changed hands, and we've been psyched to run it for the last 3 years. This will be our third summer putting on the event.
That's great. Did he start it before gravel was cool? Was he ahead of the game?
I think it was 2017. So up to you on the definition of when gravel became cool.
Yeah, the event itself.
But in Vermont, that's just riding, right? It's right. Like just riding on dirt roads and gravel roads in Vermont is that's just riding. So somebody put a label on it. So I'm sure, I think to some extent, right? I don't even there's got to be a statistic in terms of the percentage of roads that are dirt and gravel in Vermont versus paved. And I just don't know that you can go out for a ride of any meaningful length and not hit a dirt or gravel road, right?
I want to say it's 70%. I might be totally making that up, but it is a high percentage. And we've actually joked that a funny April Fool's Day joke would be to announce like a paved enduro in Tunbridge, and you can't make a great paved route in Tunbridge because I think there's 4 paved roads in the town. There's the main road that runs right up the valley, and then there's a couple other side roads that get to other places. So, like you're saying, Eric, it is just what a bike ride looks like in Tunbridge because most of the roads are dirt.
Are you saying that Vermont is 70% gravel?
I might be totally making that up. There is a statistic
we're taking that to the bank. I mean, I like it. That's.
I don't know if it's 70%, but I'm almost positive that it's more dirt than not.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So from you guys getting involved, was that just that's a love of saying, hey, somebody's got to keep this fire burning for the event?
Yeah, there's that, and Rachel's got a really important family connection to the area as well. Her family has been farming in the valley where the Ranger is hosted for how many generations?
Gosh, 5, 6, 7 generations. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me. I mean, given my passion for cycling personally, my commitment to growing youth cycling, love of gravel roads and Tunbridge, and then having like my uncle's a dairy farmer. The event literally rides 2 miles through his fields and on through his property and roads to start. So knowing that, there was the potential for this event to go away, it was like, well.
Okay, so wait. So a generation is like 30, 40 years. So you're talking about going back something like 150 years?
Yeah, it's it goes back pretty far in terms of how long my family's been in the area. So
you're like royalty,
yeah.
Vermont royalty is what you're saying.
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far.
And my math might be off. So you guys took over the event. What have you done to sort of improve it or grow it? Like, did you accomplish the original task of raising money for whatever it is you were trying to do, and now you're raising money for other things? Like, what have you guys done the last few years?
Yeah, so one of our big commitments becoming new organizers of the event would be to look for some specific areas and try to that we can keep the money as local as possible. So immediately Tyler and I sat down and identified some specific value areas that we have as a family, and we're really committed to doing what we can to be stewards of rural and agricultural land, just like in our everyday lives. We are deeply committed to creating outdoor recreational opportunities for people. And we're really committed to doing what we can to sustain small communities. So we took those 3 areas and we sought to partner with local organizations that are doing important work in those areas right in the Tunbridge area. So we immediately identified things like the library in town, the school club, the local food shelves, the local radio station, the White River Land Collaborative has a farm in town that is trying to allow young people the opportunity to get into organic farming and make a go of it. So those are some of the organizations that we sought to partner with right from the get-go that we thought would be the best way to reinvest the funds that are raised from the event, but also to, do what we can to keep the money that we need to run an event as local as possible. So we always try to start, right in town when we're hiring caterers or, hiring really all the folks that it takes to pull off an event of 600 people.
What's the long-term vision for the event? Like 3 or 4 years or 5 years from now, is there some place or something you're hoping to take it to in terms of size or
Well,
participation?
we certainly don't want to grow the event in terms of size. We allow 600 riders right now, and that's really what the capacity is for the town. It happens at the beginning of June, and it's always, we've been lucky so far, and we've had like bright sunshine the last 3 years that we've run this event, which means that it's a really great day for farmers to be out working their fields. And so to put any more than 600 riders spaced out, of course, throughout the day just doesn't feel right to us. So we're not looking to grow it, but we are looking to see how our event can improve on the partnerships that we've got with these local organizations. For example, the library in town has expanded their programming to be able to loan bikes out. And so if we were able to use funds raised by the Ranger to improve their cycling related programming, I could envision a few years from now us actually being able to like host Ranger sponsored clinics at the Tunbridge Library that would allow people to bring their bikes down and get work done and that kind of thing. Right now they're doing some cool stuff where they were able to use funds that we donated to the library to create like adventure kits so that families can come into town or come into the library, check out a bike, check out an adventure kit, and be able to access the outdoors in maybe a new and different way.
That might be like the greatest thing I've ever heard. Like, I mean,
the library can now you can check out a bike rack at the library.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. We were able to set up the library with a hitch mount bike rack. So that is item that you can now loan out from the Tunbridge
Boy,
Library.
that is amazing, and maybe this is a a sort of a good segue. On the website, you guys talk about a lot about riding with purpose, right? So why don't you just dive into that a little bit? What do you mean by riding with purpose?
It's in a way, it's fairly simple. It's just knowing that showing up to this place that maybe isn't your home and riding through this town, you can and will have an impact, whether that's just by simply being a good individual on your bike and behaving by the rules of the road and waving to the neighbors and thanking people for letting them ride through their land, or knowing that a large portion of the registration dollars in the event are going to these organizations in the towns that were really privileged to let us host an event through.
I think that's great. We've all of us, having raced a lot and been to a lot of events, can see when that etiquette is not observed, and it's so disappointing, right? It really is. And I think I brought it up on one of the other podcasts the other day, and if not, it was just a conversation Art and I were having. Is, I'm out there running, riding, skiing, doing all these things, and when I'm running on the roads and cyclists go by me and don't wave, or don't give me a hello, or I see the goo wrappers on the ground, or the things like that, it really is about, hey, treat this place like it was your home. So I'm glad that you guys are focused on that. I think hopefully people come away with that feeling, but maybe we'll bring that vibe back to their other events that they might do. So glad to hear that.
Yeah. We've seen it make a difference in the last couple of years in a major way. People will reach out to us and say, when's the ride coming? When's it going to be by my house? And we get those emails and we're like, oh, is this person going to be like not happy? And it's actually because they want to know so that their kids can be at the end of the driveway, or they can set up their stuffed animals and lawn chairs and on bicycles to like be out there cheering on the riders. It's very interesting to know that. We have these like staple New England events where you're at the Boston Marathon, you set up your chairs 3 days in advance to get your spot on Heartbreak Hill or whatever it is.
Yes.
We're starting to see a little bit of that in Tunbridge up in the hills, where people are,
but that's,
staking out their spot to cheer on
but Tyler,
riders.
that's
a
a testament, I think, to the event, because you could easily see that flipping, where the local neighbors are like, I hate this event. This sucks. Like, I hate all these people coming into town. The place gets trashed. There's garbage everywhere, right? So the fact that you've been able to create that environment is a real testament to the race. Because I know a lot of other places where they don't love it. But if you guys have created that, and probably that a lot of that is the fact that you're giving back so much to the community.
Yeah, I think one other important distinction is that it's not a race.
Fair.
We've taken out this like start to finish timing element. So inherently there's kind of a level of chill that people bring, and and it's a full weekend of events. So, there's group shakeout rides on Saturday. There's a community bike clinic.
Rachel, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the weekend. Okay. Let's start with, I think was it June 7th this year?
Yeah. This year, the event will be over the weekend of the 8th and the 9th. We allow 2 nights of camping at the Tunbridge Fairgrounds. So really just the site is open for camping check-in, starting at 4 p.m. on Friday afternoon, and folks will kind of start to trickle in. And, there's not a lot going on in town in terms of restaurants and bars and whatnot. So a lot of people will kind of make dinner on site, or hang out and just enjoy catching up with friends, or maybe head into South Royalton. There's a town 5 miles away where Upper Pass Brewing is, and there's the Worthy Burger, and there's Carlita's.
Worthy Burger.
Yeah.
Shout out to Worthy.
So a lot of people will kind of start to gather and connect over some good food and local beer. And then things really kick off on Saturday. We've got like packet pickup, and our expo opens in the afternoon on Saturday. And then we have a community bike maintenance workshop. So we always hire someone to lead a bike repair clinic with like tools and instruction and, do minor repairs and just really welcome the community to that. And we're pretty intentional about using local communications to be sure that everyone knows that they're welcome, not just people who are registered for the event. So again, trying to get folks from the four-town region to come participate and hang out at the fairgrounds and be part of the cycling community, even if you don't have a spot in kind of the main event on Sunday. And then we always do a group ride on Saturday afternoon. Last year, the
shakeout ride.
Yeah, like a shakeout ride. Last year, the Tunbridge General Store kicked in creamies for everyone who showed up and did that. And then we have
Yummy.
a 5K walk run in the afternoon as well. And all of that benefits the Tunbridge Library and the First Branch School Club. They're awesome and they partner with us. They do a little fundraising of their own, selling lemonade that the kids are making and cookies. And they've got podium. Gosh, I think last year it was so cool. They gave out bike-themed children's books for their podium prizes, which was really, really fantastic and sweet.
Nice.
And then we have a community concert on Saturday evening. So we've got live music. There's a local bluegrass band who's going to be doing the music this year from 5 to 7, and we'll have food for sale from a couple different local food vendors, and of course, beer from Upper Pass and Brocklebank. These are two Tunbridge breweries that have generously created a collaboration brew since the very beginning of the Ranger. So they put together an awesome beer that we're able to sell.
Who's the brewery involved?
The breweries are Upper Pass and Brocklebank.
So to be clear, there's very few people that live in this town. There's not many restaurants or what have you, but there are two breweries. I just want to be clear that I'm established. There are three. There's three breweries. I love Vermont.
Yeah, I Tunbridge is awesome for these fun statistics. I believe that Tunbridge also has the highest concentration of breweries for its
capita
population in the state.
I like
Vermont.
that. That's
a
claim to fame. I like it, and it just reinforces our unscientific sort of conversation. Well, actually, no. This flips the script a little bit, right? Because everything we've been, all the running clubs are super focused on. All the running clubs start and finish at breweries, right? And all the cycling is around coffee, but the gravel scene, and I think certainly the mountain bike scene, is that hybrid beer loving crew. So, but that is really funny that there's such a small town and there are three breweries in that little town.
So when we get to race day, is it a mass start? I'm sorry, Enduro day, ride day.
Yeah.
We get to Enduro ride day.
Yeah, ride day kicks off at 9 a.m. on Sunday. And there are three different distances for the Ranger. So there's an 18-mile, 42-mile, and a 62-mile course. And,
elevation?
And everyone starts at 9 a.m. Tyler, you're going to have to give me the elevation stats.
In Vermont, we consider a ratio ride to be 1,000 feet per 10 miles, and the Ranger is above ratio. I want to say it's around 6,000 feet for the 42 and almost for the 62. It's one of these areas where you're kind of either going uphill or downhill. Our views are incredible, and the cost of an incredible view is a lot of climbing to get there.
Are all the time segments on uphill segments? Any downhill segments?
The first segment is, I would call it rolling to flat, but the others are uphill, and one is very uphill.
You can burn your matches you can burn all your matches, Art, on that first segment on the flat to rolling.
I will.
Yeah, so the rides kick off at 9. In addition to those three rides that go out, there's a junior Ranger. So again, like that's how Tyler and I initially got involved in the event. We try to gather up as many kids as possible to.
Wait, tell me more about that.
Yeah,
what do you mean?
The junior Ranger is like a 3-mile course that essentially rides out through the hayfields down Howe Lane, which is the road that my uncle's farm is on, and does a nice down and back, and it usually takes the kids 45 minutes or so to complete the distance. Big pack of parents, and That's a really awesome ride as well. Ends with a nice swooping lap around the fairgrounds track, and try to get a lot of.
What's the age limit on that?
The age limit. Art, we're looking for chaperones if you would like to come participate in that. Kids of all ages are welcome. We try to have as few rules as possible.
So could I just jump in a little bit on the just to give, again, we've got a lot of runners and non-cyclists listening, millions, in fact, I think was the last count from the statistics, the feedback that we got. But seriously, let's take the 62-mile gravel enduro. What are the fastest finishers coming in at, and then what are the slower finishers coming in at? And the reason I'm asking the question is for folks to sort of say, hey, this is something that I want to go out and try. I have no sense of what that takes, or if I come out here, am I going to be riding by myself? So I think help us give the bookends, if you could, on what that 62-mile might be.
Yeah, I think for the 62, it's taking folks between 4 hours at the fastest. 4 hours is cooking.
Wow.
And 8 or so for the tail end. The beauty of our course is it's kind of like a series of clover leaves that get you not back to the start finish, but near to. And leading into the last climb, the last 10, 15 miles of the route or so, if it's running late into the day, we have a course marshal out there at the last SAG station, which is at one of the local schools, that's saying, you might want to boogie down the road and get to the party rather than pushing yourself for another hour and a half or so up into the hills.
And for our runners, a SAG station is
a feed zone, a water stop.
Just want to make sure, we don't start using broom wagon kind of terminology here and SAG stations and stuff.
The 42 mile is definitely the most popular route. That's the one that gets the most number of people, but it seems like people are interested in starting to push more into the 62.
That's great. So that was another question I had, was just supported or not supported. So what you're saying is on the 62, there's at least 2 feed stations, water zones for refilling, things like that.
Yeah. The 42, the 18 mile has 1 stop, the 42 has 2 stops, and the 62 has 3.
Rachel, you just mentioned, I think, that you and Tyler got into this event through the kids part of it. How did that come about?
I think that we had just reached out to Alex, the organizer, and said that we wanted to volunteer, and hey, was there a role for us? I think it must have been 2021, right? We basically said, is there a role for us that will allow us to also ride? Because we're signed up for it, but we also want to volunteer. What do you got? And he was like, sure, if you want to ride with the kids and then take off, essentially, as soon as you get them back to the starting line, go ahead and do that. So that was the first time that we really did the event. Was we started last because we rode with the kids first and then tried to catch the tail end of the event.
Which, by the way, if you're a strong athlete, is an incredible way to experience an event. Volunteer at the start and do something meaningful, and then start 20 minutes later or so. And rather than being at the front the whole time, you get a chance to see so many people. We volunteered, and then we drilled it for the first hour or so, and you just it turned it into this incredible social ride experience, which was really, really cool. It's fun to seed yourself in a different part of the pack, I guess.
I love that. Yeah.
Everybody riding gravel bikes, or are people riding hardtail mountain bikes, or is it strictly all gravel bikes?
A gravel bike is definitely the preferred bike of choice. We have these class 4 roads in Vermont, which I think are class 6 in New Hampshire, which are unmaintained roads, and they're not as rugged as trails, although they can be based on how the season goes. And having a knobby tire is really, really ideal. A road bike, you'd be really struggling, I think, both between the traction and the gear ratios. A mountain bike is also totally reasonable choice.
I'm just thinking
I'd
like
say
D2R2. I see a
maybe,
bunch of folks on mountain bikes, and if just
yeah,
from a
yeah, we probably have 15, maybe 20% of people on mountain
okay,
bikes.
that's pretty significant percentage then. So okay,
So actually, you guys just talked about, doing the kids ride and then dropping the hammer and picking people off and saying, "See you later, suckers." No, how did you guys get into endurance sports? We often ask this question.
Yeah, I would say we were both like pretty athletic kids growing up. Tyler maybe more in like the running type sports, which you can talk about if you want. And I did like just pretty traditional sports here in Vermont, like through high school, and was always kind of an outdoor kid, being, the product of two Vermonters. So we were hiking and skiing and all those kinds of things, every weekend growing up. And then we met each other at UVM in the outing club. And so being outdoors and doing, backcountry ski adventures and things like that has been part of our relationship since we first got together. And that over the years has just kind of morphed into doing more mountain biking and then eventually gravel biking. When we kind of realized that like gravel cycling was a thing in like 2017, we got our hands on gravel bikes and did the Vermont Overland. That was like the first event that we ever did in Vermont, and just totally fell in love with it. Found that it was a pretty fun mashup of like technical skill and exploration and fitness, and it just kind of took off from there. And I would say, like pretty much went all in on the endurance thing. And we've both kind of dabbled in like different events and different kind of ways to be an endurance athlete over the last 5, 6, 7 years. Ranging from doing a whole host of different events here in New England and also traveling to do some different types of events as well.
Like what? We usually ask folks like what their favorite New England endurance event is, or if there are any
hidden gems
hidden gems.
Yeah, I mean, we've done so many of the Vermont ones in particular, whether that's Rasputitsa, Vermont Overland, the Vermont 50, which again isn't gravel, but Vermont 50, a lot of the more small time gravel grinders. We've never done the Cabot Ride the Ridges, which is an event that's like on our radar that people speak really, really highly of the route.
Could you say that again?
Cabot Ride the Ridges. It's in Cabot, Vermont, and it happens in September, I think. Yeah. And there's apparently incredible cheese at the rest stops, like Jasper Hill cheese at the rest stops.
I love it.
And then
getting on the calendar.
there's like the Braintree Circus ride that some friends of ours put on that is a fundraiser for another local trails organization that is really impactful. The Ride for Mo, for example, is a new ride that we did last year that we thought was just absolutely spectacular, put on by the Mariah Wilson Foundation. So there are a whole bunch of smaller events. Oh, the Peachum Fall Fondo is like, how could we forget to give them a shout out? Ian and Gretchen Boswell put on that absolutely spectacular race up in ride, like ours, kind of up in Peachum, Vermont in October. So there are a lot of really, really nice events that are smaller in number and very much aligned philosophically to like what we're trying to do with the Ranger.
All right. Yes.
Eric, maybe we should call this the Vermont Endurance Podcast.
We could do a whole, we should, does Vermont have a month? Like, sort of like, is there like, we'll dedicate a certain month to each state. So
we're really at the point, like Tyler mentioned, Ride the Ridges, where we're like, it just doesn't fit because there are so many spectacular ways to be involved in the Vermont cycling community all throughout, spring, summer, and fall.
What do you guys try to peak for? Which event?
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, so speaking of travel, last summer, we kind of got like the ultra endurance bug personally, or between the two of us. And so we last year, trained for and did a ultra endurance ride in Italy. And then we came home from that. And I found out I was pregnant like a month later. So we're training for childbirth in May this year. So we don't really have anything big on our calendar other than
we're peaking for the Ranger.
Child.
The Ranger will be both the finish of a construction project, childbirth, and organizing.
Seems pretty.
Event.
Doesn't seem like you guys got a lot going on right now. So, Rachel, this question is for you. Which sunglass model do you like? Do you think Tyler looks the worst in when he wears? Like, he's got to have a pair that you're like, oh, Tyler, I don't like it when you wear that Julbo model. Which one is that?
Eric, what's the brand called again?
Julbo.
You can't stand my shams, my side
So that's what I was going to say. So Tyler has a pair, or probably several pairs, given the frequency with which these are on his face, of the sham, like the very traditional, like mountaineering glasses. But I will admit that we were on vacation at the beach a couple years ago, and he's wearing what I kept giving him crap, like these stupid looking sunglasses. And then he went off and swam, and I put them on reading, and it was a very windy day, and I had to take back all of my shade because they were excellent at blocking the sand while
they're functional, but he doesn't look good in them, is basically what you're saying. So, okay, great. All right, final question. That was right. A good one. Final question. Not really a question. It's a statement of fact. I don't think we're going to get any objections from you guys, but we started this podcast because we believe that New England is the greatest endurance region of the United States, if not the world. Tell us why you agree with us.
I agree because we just have so much diversity of things to do. I mean, you were talking about riding up and down the same road when you're in California, and we're not limited to riding specific routes, but we have routes in every single direction. And we also, as difficult as the weather can be, it makes it such that you kind of need to be ready and trained and prepared to pivot if you want to be active, to do whatever the weather allows, whether that's going for a run or sitting on the trainer because it's supposed to snow 2 feet tonight, or riding when it is sunny. The weather toughens us up to do it all, and we also kind of need to do it all in order to deal with the weather.
I love that word pivot, right? We have to roll with the punches with whatever Mother Nature gives it us, and that toughens us up.
Rachel, your thoughts?
I love that.
Anything to add?
Yeah, I really agree with that. I think that a really special thing about living here is that there is kind of always something to do. Like there's, you can hike or go for a trail run up the mountain if the weather's crummy in the middle of the summer. We've got awesome access to lakes and rivers and streams, and the possibilities are kind of endless for how you want to be outside. And so, yeah, there's, if you're bored, that's your problem. You should probably just learn a new sport because there are many.
That's a great answer. I don't know that anybody has sort of mentioned that. I think we've talked a lot about the weather, but to your point, Rachel, if you can't do X on that day, you could do Y, or you could do something else, and it's within a short drive to do it, right? Like, so I think that's sort of another aspect of it. And Tyler, I liked your pivot. I liked your pivot comment. That's a good one. The answers are getting better and better, and it's only reinforcing the statement of fact that we made.
Is there any final thing you'd like to plug before we close out the podcast today?
Just one thing to mention, like the Ranger is only possible thanks to so much support that we get from volunteers and partners who are very, very invested in the thing. We have 2 partners who we work really closely with in organizing the event, John and Pamela Robichaud. So just a shout out to John and Pamela for helping us pull this thing together as well, plus all the other volunteers and community partners and brand partners and that sort of thing that are helping to make the Ranger happen.
Great. Well, we would love to, Rachel and Tyler, thank you so much for being guests on the New England Endurance podcast. I will say your event here really epitomizes what we had set out to do, and we're really excited because, I'm pretty dialed into the endurance community in New England, and I know Art is as well. And I had no idea about the event, right? So if I, again, not that I know it all, right? But if I didn't know about it and Art didn't know about it, I think hopefully we're going to introduce this event to a lot of new folks that we have in our network and that are starting to listen. So this is really exciting. And hopefully we can introduce you to something new, and that is cookies. Okay, so we would love to introduce you. If you're not already familiar with Lark Fine Foods, they are 100% woman-owned fine bakery here close to where we live. They do really great, delicious, savory and sweet cookies. We will be sending you a box for your late night cravings, Rachel, that you might have for the cookies. Tyler, you can get in on those as well. But yeah, thank you so much. And it's just a little token of our thanks to you. So we'll be sending out a delicious box of Lark Fine Foods cookies.
Well, thank you guys very much for having us, and we hope that you'll come up and join us at the Ranger early this June. And to any of your listeners, feel free to reach out if you're interested in participating in the event this year. We do have a few special registrations available for folks who want to support the community through our community sustainer registration. And there are also always ways to kind of move registrations around if they become available from folks who can't attend. So Art and Eric, we hope to see you there. And to the listeners, hopefully you'll come join us in Tunbridge as well some year soon.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I really enjoyed this conversation. Wish you guys luck at your event. I'm sure you'll crush it and sell out once again. Again, thanks to our sponsors, Lark Fine Foods, and also The Everyday Athlete, a book about balancing work, family, and fitness. And for those who want to learn more about the Ranger, you can visit them at therangervt.com. We will also tag them on our Instagram page, which is at New England Endurance. And until next time, get out there,
Pivot.
Rain or shine, drop some hammers, and explore the beautiful terrain of New England.